Hello, Delegate Wranglers. We are back after our Easter holidays, and it's really good to be back. And here we are in our final episode. Well, no, penultimate episode. Sorry, God, jumping the gun there. Of the DW Live show. We've got a brilliant show lined up today with Rob Eveleigh from Brightelm. Rob also works with the DW team quite closely, so expect some good banter between us as well as some good information. So I'm just going to tell you quickly what's going on the show. First of all, thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate it. You know, especially with everything coming back, you know, to see so many of you in the chat room, so many people signed up for this, not only on Facebook but also on YouTube. It's amazing. We really appreciate it. So coming up on the show, we're going to be hearing from our sponsors, Eventser, in a second, with another message from them. Then we're going to be having the DW Live panel halfway through. Towards the end, we're then going to be showing you our weekly lowdown, which is our new, well, fairly new now. I think we're in week 5 of working with Mash Media to provide you some of the latest positive news in the events world. So we're going to be showing you that. It's just a couple of minutes at the end, and then we're going to be telling you what's coming up on the show. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for joining in again. I'm just going to give a few shout outs. Hello, Dom. Dominic is in the chat room. Dom from Stream. Hi, Dom. Glad to say he's had a haircut. Kate Plowright. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kevin. Murdo, Helena, Karen, Anika, as always, Paul Butterworth, Suzanne, who used to work with Suzanne Elligan. Suzanne, hi, used to work with you way back when in World Events. So, yeah, thank you all for joining in. Really appreciate it. Okay, on with the show. What we'll do is we will run through our video with Eventser now coming up, and we'll see you in a second.
It's been a busy few months here at Eventser, and last week we were excited to confirm the release of version 5 of the on-air portal. This release sees updates across the portal, providing more features, control and stability for organisers to deliver an even better engaging event experience. One feature that has been requested by existing and new customers was that of the event stream wall, which acts as the universal communication and social media wall that's available to all attendees to capture comments, photos and videos for the event and provide an engaging dynamic. To support the V5 release, we have updated the website, which contains all the latest details and images of the portal, and from which you can arrange a tailored demonstration from the team as to how the technology can provide the foundation for your next successful event.
Big thanks to Andy there for the penultimate message to us. Hope you guys can check out the Eventser platform. It's fantastic, and I know they've got a new version of it coming up very soon. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in on Facebook and on YouTube. Really appreciate you coming. Please send your questions in to me and Rob as we go through. We'll ask them as we go, but we can also ask them at the end as well. So please drop them in the chat for any during the show at any point at all. Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube, guys. It's really important for us. Just give us a quick follow. You won't miss a show. There's absolutely tons of content on there, and it's growing. We've got big plans for YouTube, so if you can follow us, that would be really helpful. So on with the show. I would like to warmly welcome my good friend, Rob Eveleigh. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Good afternoon, Neil. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm really good. I am really good. How's it going with you? Are you in Bristol, aren't you, Rob?
I'm in Bristol. It's an okay day. I was saying earlier, I'm a swimmer. Managed to get in the pool last night for the first time in about 4 months. So I'm feeling quite on top of the world today. But yeah, it's all good here.
You're going to be aching tomorrow, Rob. I guarantee. It's always 2 days after, and you haven't done anything for a while. I guarantee you. Anyway, Rob, thank you for coming on. We've got a fantastic hybrid events masterclass with yourself. I know you've been very active in doing all this over the last 12 months. You know, and obviously going forward as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about Brightelm and how you've got to where you are at the moment?
Sure, of course. So I started Brightelm 3 years ago. We celebrated our third birthday in February. I have a long history of working with membership organisations on delivering events for them, and I've worked for agencies and in-house alike, and I wanted to have something of my own. So I started Brightelm, and but I wanted to create something which was going to stand out, but also a slightly different way of working. So I came up with this idea of 7 core services which associations need in order to deliver events. These include project management, commercial sales, commercial marketing, delegate services, content, including abstract management, logistics, and of course exhibition management, with a view to having conversations with potential clients which were much more about how can we help you deliver better, rather than we'll run your event for you, which many of the legacy PCOs focus on. PCO is a term referred to generally as a conference organizer, as a professional conference organizer that works specifically with the association's market. We're now starting to transition into a slightly different company again. So we're starting to look at meeting design, and how we can, rather than just help our clients deliver the events, we can help them design those events and run more effective meetings for their membership. That's where we are now. I also founded the company on the premise of transparency. So we only work on a fees basis with clients. We don't engage with markups. We aim to be as sustainable as we possibly can. That's pretty much where Brightelm is now. We are a small but growing company down in the southwest.
Yeah, very modest as well, because I know Rob works with a lot of associations and has got a lot of experience as well. So he's very, very qualified to talk about this subject. And I guess moving straight into it, Rob, I know you're here to talk about hybrid events. So do you want to define what your understanding of a hybrid event is? Because everybody's using the term, but people are using it for like online events. They're just calling it a hybrid event, and when literally, I guess it's something different to different people.
Well, I think definitions are really, really important, and we have a long history in the events industry of having various different definitions, meaning various different things. Lots of acronyms, and particularly between us and the States, where the States will use one term for something, we'll use a different term for something for the same thing. But I think hybrid for me is trying to think about it as simply as I can. It's 2 audiences, one live, one online, accessing some or all of the same content. And it's really, I know there are some people that define hybrid as, broadcasting from a studio. To me, that doesn't really ring true. That's much more like a TV show. And it's very much an online event because your audience aren't present. And I think that's what makes a difference if you have a live audience. And I think it's getting the definition right is so important, just to get everybody working together and understanding what you're trying to deliver. It's without doubt, I think, the biggest challenge that the industry faces right now. We have a client-led need for it, but we have a very small pool of experience on which to draw upon. And I'm very fortunate in that we started working on a hybrid before we went into lockdown. So that puts us in a quite, not a unique position, but it puts us in quite an unusual
advantageous
position. Advantageous, yeah. There we go. That's a good word.
Yeah, I know. I do have these good words sometimes. What I was going to say, Rob, is the thing that we're all, it's like the elephant in the room again, isn't it? Because none of us have had the chance to do a true hybrid event since lockdown, really. We're all talking about it and we're all going to say this is going to be the future, but we haven't been able to do an in-person event to then be able to do the hybrid side of it as well, the online side of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think we're all going to learn on as we go, like we did with going online when we went into lockdown. It's going to be similar, isn't it?
Well, it is, and a good example of this is what one of my team, Tara, joined me last summer straight from university. So she's now brilliant at delivering events online. She's not had any live experience at all, and it's very unusual. So whereas she's really used to working in an online event environment now, she's going to have to start at the bottom again when it comes to live. And I think there'll be lots of other people who've come into the industry who are going to struggle with that. However, on the flip side of that, we've now got a new workforce who are really good at delivering online, and I think we're all in a good place to deliver hybrid. The question is how we bring it together and what we have to consider in planning for the model, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess that leads in nicely onto, I know something else that you want to talk about, and you mentioned it earlier on, is, meeting design. And I guess that builds into totally with regards to what you're doing for the in-person people and what you're doing for the online people.
I think, yeah, and I think meeting design is a very interesting concept. It's been talked about certainly for the last 10 years, but I think now it's really coming to fruition. And, in the industry, we constantly have to challenge and change the way we do things in order to remain relevant. Anyone can run an event. They really can, but not everybody can run an event well, and it's only those who have lots of experience who can run it really, really effectively. What I'm hearing at the moment is a lot of people worried about cost of hybrid, but I think and they go straight for the cost and solution rather than actually thinking about why they want to run hybrid in the first place. And the principles of meeting design are basically taking the event back to its roots and forgetting the existing event that you have, and really thinking about why you're running the event, why people will attend, what you hope the attendees will get out of the event. And it is very attendee or stakeholder centric way of developing meetings. There's quite a well established in medical and scientific associations. There's quite a well established model of a conference. It's a bit cookie cutter, and it's where the content is derived from a few keynote speakers, and but everybody else, or many people, will submit abstracts, which are then reviewed by peers and then submitted, and then those abstracts then form the rest of the content of the conference or posters. But it's quite a staid way to develop content. The danger is that model is starting to lose touch with the future members of the association. Graduates and junior researchers at a PhD level, etc. Now, they want something different out of content. They don't want to be attending events with the same staid format. They want something different. So meeting design is a great way to take it back and really think about what the attendees want and what the outcome of the event needs to be. Excuse me. And the difficulty is that associations only live to serve their members. In order to carry on serving their members, they need to recruit new members. The best way to recruit new members is a bit like a bank. Once I think research shows when you join a bank when you're 16 to 18, you generally stay with the same bank through the rest of your life. And association membership is the same. You want to recruit members when they're young and keep them with the association the whole time. But the issue is that associations are being run generally by people who have a bit more time, who are perhaps at the twilight of their careers. But there's a huge age gap. And then there's a huge understanding of young culture, junior culture. So by following meeting design principles, you actually start to really think about your attendees and your members and what they really want. And the reason why I'm talking about meeting design in the context of hybrid is that I think a lot of people are going down this route of we've got to do hybrid, but you don't have to do hybrid in the same way as most people understand hybrid to be. It doesn't all have to be live. You could, for example, have a live content which is then recorded, and then people can view it on demand, or you can have half and half. You also need to think about the geography of your attendees. So it's very easy to set a program for a local live audience. It's a lot harder to set a program for a global audience to attend an event live, because everybody's in a different time zone. So what might work well for Australia is a horrendous for LA or even New York. What works well in London doesn't necessarily work in LA either, or Asia, for example. I believe there's a question, Neil.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Rob, that leads me to, excuse me if you're going to be coming to this, but I think what a question that a lot of event organisers will be needing to know will be, do I create the same show for everybody? So the people in person at the event, do they get the same as the online viewers? Or do we need to totally change what we're giving to those guys? Are they kind of on a time delay? Are they getting slightly different things? Because that audience could be huge as well back at home. And it's almost like, I always feel like we should be rewarding the people who are coming to the event, not rewarding them, but making it that little bit extra special, I guess, for actually coming to an event, rather than those who have just stayed at home watching. Okay, they could be living in a different country, so it might prevent them from being able to come. But you know what I mean? There's two different things at play, and I think what's going to be hard is finding the right blend.
Yeah, of course, but it's just to be slightly controversial. By saying
not like you, Rob. It's not like you.
By saying you're rewarding your live attendees with a better experience, you're actually discriminating against your online attendees.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's been deliberately, thought-provoking.
Yeah, you can't, and that's really difficult. But at the same time, you cannot deliver the same event experience live as you can online. So we need to stop trying to do that. That's the first thing. There's lots of discussion at the moment. Let's take virtual exhibitions, for example. Exhibitions as part of a conference, virtual exhibitions as part of an online conference, really struggling to work. And I've attended quite a few discussions and run tables on this with various different people. The reason why they're struggling is because people behave differently online as they do live. So if you're at a conference and there's an exhibition tied onto it, you're probably going to have the catering in there. So if you go in, and it'll be the networking space too. So you might go in, you might browse around the exhibitors, have a couple of conversations. With an online experience, you don't have the same effect. There is no catering. B, online events for the moment with most platforms work in a very two-dimensional way. So you go into a room, you come out of a room, you don't necessarily visually see who else is there, unless of course you invest hundreds of thousands of pounds in a platform which does that. So whilst we think about a different experience that's just one example of how we need to think differently about an online experience versus a live experience, and particularly with this idea of delivering our return on investment for exhibitors. With an association model, the sponsors and exhibitors effectively fund the conference enough to be able to discount the attendance fee for the members. That's effectively the model which people follow. If you can't provide return on investment for online exhibitors, they're not going to exhibit with you. So unless you can actually find a different way of bringing the audience to them, for example, pre-arranged meetings is something which seems to have worked well for some people. And just to touch on the exhibition again, it's online exhibitions do work if there's a benefit to the attendee going to them. So there's a charity that recently did a staff conference, and they turned the exhibition into a well-being fair. And they had double the number of stand visits that they anticipated they would do. Every single stand was busy because there was an absolute benefit in the members of staff attending the exhibitor fair, because they could access this amazing source of help for them. So we do have to be very, very careful when we're thinking about the online versus the live experience.
Yeah, Rob.
Neil.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it is what one thing I've noticed is, yeah, okay, I agree with you. The online exhibiting, it can be done, but it's a little bit more. I don't think the audience is quite tuned into doing it properly, and to understand how to do it, and to go up cold and to talk to people on a virtual stand. But what I'm finding more and more is exhibitors or suppliers are doing content-led pieces, if you like. So they might be doing a small 10-minute presentation, and that's a way they can get their message across to many people, rather than one at a time. So I'm seeing more and more of that. But another point, Rob, I was just going to say, what you're saying is backed up by a couple of people in the chat room. Dom from Stream is saying very much the same thing. The challenge is how to bring the two parts of the event together successfully. It can be done, but I think we're growing all the time. We're learning. And the whole audience is important. This is from Candy Bongunning. Hi, Candy. It's really important. We need to work out how to engage the online audience and at what stage. There's just so many things to think about, and I guess it's going to evolve as we go along as well, isn't it?
Sure, but I think I'll pick up on the one word which was used there, which is overused, which is the word engagement. We talk about engagement, audience engagement a lot, and we talk about audience engagement tools. And I think we as event managers are guilty of trying to engage people too much. When we talk about engagement, I believe what we really mean is that people feel they've had a benefit of attending an event. I've been to events which become quite gimmicky in, the amount of things you need to click on or take part in or respond to, that sort of thing. But actually, that's not what we're running the event for. We're running the event to help people learn. And we have to think about all the different audiences. If we just take the online audience, for example, okay, within that online audience, we've got women, we've got men, we've got people from different cultures, we've got people from different countries, people who speak different languages. Some people will attend, they'll just want to go to one session. Other people will want to attend more than one. Very few people will sit at their desks. In fact, in all the online events we've done, I've not seen anybody yet, and we have looked, I've not seen anybody yet who has attended every single thing in real time. Because people don't want, and people find it tired sitting at their desks all day. So what I'm trying to say by that is that we've got to look deeper into, when we call an online audience, into actually understanding what they want to get out of it, and also what we want to give them. We mustn't feel we have to make people interact online or make people network if they don't want to.
Yeah, I've got some really good comments coming in, Rob. Okay. Everyone's enjoying the show, so thank you.
Enjoying
Sasha,
the bands.
Freeze, enjoying the bands, top bands. Well, we're just warming up, guys. Wait till the end. Wait till the finale.
So, I'll be giving you a new nickname. I'll be giving you a new nickname. Neil Prince Philip Thompson with all your bants.
Top banter, that's me.
Top banter.
Sasha Freeze. Hi, Sasha, friend of the show, been on the show twice, joining that illustrious crew. So you, Rob, said, great presentation. Does your meeting design allow for creative ways to create engaging experience for delegates and exhibitors? Now, that's a really good point. So the exhibitors feel like they're getting something from it as well. Sasha said, David, her company has had great success doing it, but we do need to think differently. And the ROI and data analytics from virtual hybrid events can be amazing. And I think, Rob, I've seen, I'll come back to that as well. But I've seen on your data for the show that you're going to be talking about gamification. So, is that the kind of gimmicky things that you were talking about to get engagements? Is that what you were mentioning earlier on?
No, I hate gamification. I hate it with a passion. I see it as gimmicky, and it rewards behaviors which you don't. It rewards behaviors, but it doesn't reward the behaviors which you think it's going to. So it rewards people who like taking part in online games and like winning prizes. If the prize is a ticket at the next conference, then maybe you're in with a chance of having something relevant. But I haven't, certainly in my market, and bear in mind, everybody, I'm speaking from whenever I speak, I'm talking from the perspective of association conferences. So what I may say for one may not apply to everyone, but it rewards people who like the prize. It doesn't reward true engagement. And the danger is, if you use gamification for exhibitors, that you're going to drive people to their stand that aren't really genuine inquiries. I think it's much better to go down the route of content, even if that's pre-recorded content. And I think it's just on the exhibition piece. We still need to educate our exhibitors on how to get the best out of online exhibitions, that they need to change their expectations. It's an online event. We know that people won't visit them and interact with them in the same way. We need to tell them that, and we need to help them find better ways to engage. And perhaps it's not having an online stand, no matter how brilliant some of them look. Perhaps it's investing that money in something different, a mailing piece, for example, or, like you say, a talk, or even a couple of minute promo video. A really good example is of, I think, really good engagement is the event sponsorship of the Delegate Wranglers. Because it's subtle, it's an advert, it's a couple of minutes out of everyone's time from each episode, but it's fulfilling the requirements for events there and the attendees too. And I like the way that works. Yeah,
Rob, I've got some really good comments, and a quick question from Sasha Evans on YouTube. Hi, Sasha. Thanks for tuning in. Does Rob have any other examples of how exhibitions have worked effectively online? Have you seen any or attended any that have worked well? I know you're talking about, you're saying it's not, sometimes doesn't work for everybody. Have you seen any that did work for you?
I think some of the tourism industry ones have worked really well, but the best ones I've seen are where trade shows are standalone. So you're running a trade show. For example, the meeting show went online last year, and it went well. So I think, where people have the objective of going to a trade show, it's working really, really well. But I think the issue with online trade show, with online exhibitions as part of a conference, which does link to an underlying issue with exhibitions as part of a conference anyway, is they're not really fulfilling the need of the attendees. They are in part, but not always. Whereas with an online exhibition, that people who are going are genuinely interested in looking for products. So, it could be that you separate the two out. Why do you, just because you have a live exhibition in your online, in your live event, doesn't mean you have to have one in your online version. Have I said that the right way around? Okay, good.
I think we always think that the two go together. You see, you have an exhibition, and therefore you have sessions as well. And it seems like the other way around, doesn't it? It seems like it's mostly about the sessions and a little bit about the exhibition. But I think the challenge is to come back to the kind of subject rather than just being purely on about online.
Yeah.
The challenge is going to be when we get to having, like, say, Confex, for example. A Confex going to be doing anything that will be online at the same time, hybridy. I think they have been talking about it. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes in, in reality and in practice.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting, but I would, when we're talking about creating things online, I would just go back to this idea about go back to meeting design principles and not forget what you've done already, but stop trying to recreate a live event online in the first instance and unpick it, take it right back to the roots. And if it doesn't work, if you look at the premise and it doesn't work for any reason, don't do it. Just because you do it in a live scenario and it works doesn't mean it's going to work for online. But I think one of the biggest challenges about hybrid is how to create this idea of one combined community. And the best way so I'm talking about between the live and online attendees. The best ways I've seen that being done so far are actually using apps. So using a shared app between everybody, so that people in the live event can see and online can see questions are being asked. Everybody can respond to polls. That's the best way of feeling like you're part of a global audience. Because most of the time, if you're attending hybrid, you can't see the online attendees. There's not really a good way to do it right now. And I mean, if you had 100 attendees, you'd have to have a screen somewhere with 100 pictures on, and that isn't going to work. So it's really important to think about trying to create some sense of community around your event, either through an app, or perhaps even having some sort of portal on your website which is accessible by phone as well, so that the live attendees can network and contact your online attendees too. But we also have to remember that these experiences can happen at any time. People can really easily connect with each other nowadays. We don't need an event to do that. If I need a supplier, I don't have to wait to go to Confex to find it. I've got the internet. I can have a Zoom call with them. I can do all sorts of things. The same with each other. If we want to find an expert in an area, LinkedIn is a fantastic tool. And you may get it quicker you may get your answer quicker using LinkedIn rather than waiting to go to a conference and attend a networking event.
It's a really interesting thing, Rob, isn't it? Because we all go to exhibitions, and we've all gone to exhibitions in the past, because you're right, we can get all that information anytime. We can contact people and go on LinkedIn, go on the Delegate Wranglers, you can do anything and speak to everybody. But the reason we go to the exhibitions is for the in-person connections that you make. You might, seeing things in the flesh, talking to people real time. That's the kind of that's the thing that I think online events can't quite get that little. It's that X factor that it hasn't got. It will have everything else. It will have all the practical aspects of being able to see a presentation, talk to people even. But it's not like sharing a beer with somebody or a coffee with somebody or going to the pub or the thing afterwards. So, that's the real thing that we all crave. So I think you're right. I think we've all got to kind of reset. Personally, I think we've all got to reset what we're thinking. Oh, I've got to do this event here and it's going to be just as good online. It's going to be different online. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but it's going to be different, and we've got to think of it that way as well. And going back to what you and Sasha's saying in the chat as well, we've got to be creative about how we come up with the content for both parties, because they're different. They're totally different.
I think, but also if we think about the hybrid model under the auspices of sustainability, and I'm not talking about sustainability in terms of greening things. I'm talking about the 17 UN goals, and which also look at inclusivity, about making sure we are accessible. A hybrid event is brilliant for reaching out to as many of your members and your audience as you possibly can. It's a fantastic way to reach out, and many people will never attend your live event. So should you alienate them because they won't attend your live event, or should you bring them in some way so they can be part of that? And if anything if any lessons have been taught to associations over the past 12 months, is that they have to be as accessible as possible in order to remain relevant. And I think we have to be very careful how we create events going forward, thinking about the geography of our audience, particularly thinking about sustainability. And for example, should we be flying a speaker halfway across the world to deliver a 2-hour session to fly them back again, costing us £4,000 in airfares, hotel accommodation, etc.? Or should they be attending live from their home office? That is more sustainable. At some point, we have to have the conversation, or each of our clients has to have the conversation about whether what's more important is the sustainability or the presence of them. What's better for the attendees, and I think that's the difficult question, which no one's really talking about in the events industry now. We're seeing it as stopping flying as a negative, but we need to turn that into a positive somehow.
Yeah. Rob, I'm just gonna let you know. So what I did was, when we were talking about gamification, I ran a little poll in there saying, how do you feel about gamification in online events?
Sneaky.
So we're here, sneaky, me. So we had the results are interesting. We had 52% people saying we're not bothered either way about them. 9% said they loved them, and 39% said not for me. I'm not making any comments on it. Yeah, I'm not making. You can say that.
Towards, I don't care. If you're looking at how many people said no? They don't like it. 32.
32. Yeah.
32, and then
39.
More than
39.
50,
39. Yeah.
And then more than 50% on top of that said they don't care either way. It doesn't bode well for gamification, really.
Yeah, but I would also say it depends on what you're doing, and if it's, I think you have to make it relevant to what you're doing. It's okay if it's something on the stand, I think, but sometimes some of them make you do too much and go around all the, I understand why they do it and everything, totally understand it, but it just depends what it is. So perhaps it's a bit of an unfair assessment because there's probably some really good ones and some really bad ones, examples of it.
But it's also not just about that. Gamification, it's not just about the tool, it's about the audience. So if you were running an event for kids, for example, who would love something like that, then the most part of running an online treasure hunt or something like that, gamification is a brilliant idea. But I just think for the majority of business events, it doesn't really work. And I guess the poll kind of backs that up, really. Yeah. That's my conclusion anyway.
And on that bombshell, we will take a little break, and we're now going to run to one of my favourite parts of the show, the DW live show panel. Thanks, Rob, for part 1. We'll be back with part 2 straight after the DW live panel. Here we go.
Well, I've been mostly still working from a studio, but when I do work from home, it's probably 50% on a hard, uncomfortable bench, a dining room bench, and 50% on the couch. It might even be more like 70-30 on the couch. Don't tell the boss.
Other than when I'm decorating, I always work in the office. It keeps me motivated and I can shut it all away when I'm finished for the day.
What do you mean, do I ever work when I'm at home from bed? I never ever work from bed, ever. Where I normally work from is my box room at home, which is done out as my permanent office. So no, I never work from bed.
Hi everyone, so I work from the kitchen. I do have a lovely office in the garden which I sometimes work from, but unfortunately at the moment with my husband working at home full time, he has pretty much taken over the office, which I'm really sad about, so I'm pretty much relegated to the kitchen table, which is fine. So yeah, that's where I work most of the time.
I think it is key for your sanity to have a dedicated office space in your house where you work from, either a separate room or part of your room. But if I'm being totally honest, there were days when I felt quicker, stayed in bed and worked from my phone, but I don't tend to do it often.
So I am lucky enough to have at home a spare room that is set up as an office. It does get a bit crowded in the house when there are 3 of us working from home, but I've definitely never worked from my bed.
Oh, that made me laugh. Tim at the end and also Jan. They always make me laugh. Anyway, guys, thank you for everybody who takes part in that. We got one left next week. If you want to join in, please drop us a line at info@thedelegatewranglers.com. Love to see more of you guys on there. We're going to be asking more and more funny, challenging questions each week. So, Rob, back into it. I know we're kind of up to on your agenda. Things around the attendee experience, and I know we've touched on it with gamification and different matters, things like the user experience, I know you've got some interesting points to make about that.
Yeah, I think talking about UX user experience, it's so important for live and online attendees tonight to, if you're going down the hybrid route, to be able to easily interact with each other. As I said, an app is a great way to do that, or a mobile compatible platform. Unfortunately, there seem to be very few mobile compatible online platforms in the market. A lot of them struggle. I know there are some, and I'm sure some were on here today and will say, I do this, we're mobile compatible, but
yeah,
let's
hear from you. Let's hear from you.
Yeah.
Chat, guys. If you do, drop us a line. Tell us all about it.
But being able to navigate that and having good UX to be able to interact with each other via mobile is really, really important to kind of re-emphasize that feeling of community and being part of one event, if that's what you want to achieve. But I think I touched on it earlier as well, in terms of learning and digesting information. What we've seen with our online events is a very different learning pattern. So attendees will attend what they want. They won't necessarily attend as much, and they'll sometimes they watch it live, but other times they'll watch it in their own time if that's available. Online audiences tend to want smaller bite-sized chunks of content rather than the 2-hour symposium with 6 or 7 speakers. The content which seems to work across both is panels. Panel discussions seem to work very, very well. They're interactive. I know we do our own at Brightelm. We have our own monthly webinar, which is normally a panel discussion, which you've been on, Neil, and it's a good experience and it's interesting. And you have to really be there you can watch it on demand afterwards, but it doesn't have the same effect. So my point is, I think, to think about how your your online and live audiences are, the differences in how they're going to absorb that learning.
Yeah, I agree, Rob, about panels. I really enjoy panels because I think not only the people on the panels have to be when you're on a panel, you have to be quite direct and to the point. So you will get people who are being, they won't waffle on for ages. They'll just get to the meat of the story. And then you can, with that, you can bring in on that. Look at us, we're doing a panel now, effectively. It's just me and you. But, we're bringing in online people. So if we had people in the audience, we could do that as well. We could be asking those in an in-person event, as well as taking questions from from YouTube or the Facebook group. So I think I agree with you. I really like panels, and I think it's a good way for suppliers to get their messages across as well, without being full on, like, you know, here's a Coca-Cola t-shirt I'm wearing, you know, or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
But but I think panels are a really good example of how you really have to bring in your technical team and design team when you're working on your agenda as well. We were working on a hybrid event, which is now going to be only virtual, where the stakeholders wanted to have a 13-person panel discussion.
Wow.
Yes, I know. Now that would be on one stage where everyone is present. That might be achievable if you've got a really strong moderator. But actually doing it where you've got, as they wanted, 4 people live and then 7 online, it's nearly impossible, because one, you have to try and get as many people onto the screen as possible, and that's quite a difficult balance.
And how
it
long
was
the
an hour
session?
long. An hour long,
so you get,
I think.
You get 5 minutes total if you're lucky. Not even that.
Yeah, but
less.
no, I think, you know, we encourage them to scale it down a bit, because the logistics alone of having a screen where you've got 4 people on a stage and 7 people all coming in 7 different streams, that's quite a big logistical challenge from a production perspective, and getting that to look good. You know, when all the speakers aren't tiny dots on the camera, exaggerating.
And not only that, it's the spontaneity of it as well. It's difficult when there's so many online as well. Really tough.
But I do think when you're looking at hybrid, it's really important to have a strong production partner from the outset in your planning, because they will help you create an agenda which is going to work not just logistically but technically too. You know, traditionally, it's fair to say that we've brought the production team in at fairly last minute. You know, particularly with association conferences. But I think, you know, it's really important with hybrid, because it's so reliant on the technical side to make sure you adopt and bring in your production partner to the conversation early. The other thing to think about, of course, and talking about attendee experience, is there's nothing wrong with having experiences which are available to online audiences only. We were actually, we still probably will be, this event in October. We're actually going to be creating kind of one-to-one special videos or live interviews with some of the panelists, which are going to be available online afterwards. So it's a bit like pressing the red button on BBC. Well, in fact, can you even do that anymore? I'm not even sure. Is that a thing? So the thing is, okay. You know, press the red button for extra content, and that creates incredible value. If you can have a one-to-one or one-to-few conversations with your between your conference host and one of your speakers or panelists after, that's incredible value. For another one of our clients, we've actually been running Meet the Speaker events. This is one of the advantages, one thing which works really, really well online and doesn't really work in person, is this opportunity to have a collective discussion directly with the speaker after the event. So we've finished the main session, which says 2 hours long, and then we've created 4 breakout rooms, 1 for each speaker, and then delegates are free to go in and out if they want to ask a speaker a question live, or in a live setting, but not in front of 200 other people.
It's equivalent. Well. Equivalent of going to the bar with them after the presentation, isn't it? But you know, on that front, Rob, there's nothing to stop the people who are at the actual conference as well tuning into that. You know, if you're doing it live or, you know, within 10 minutes after, you still be at the conference and log into your phone or whatever and tune into it. So I think you're right. It's thinking about all these creative ways to engage people in, you know, so that if you're in person or you're online, you're both getting some excellent things from it. Sometimes they can be the same things, sometimes they can be different. Be interesting to know as well. I've just seen a comment from Dom, and it was in my mind to ask you. I think it's really, and I'd be interested to hear from Sasha and people like that as well. At what point you're getting the production team in? Are you getting them in a lot earlier now? I know you just touched on it now, but in the past it would have been, let's get the venue, let's get the speakers, then let's get the production team, and probably in that order. I think it's probably totally different now. It's probably right at the beginning, isn't it? Probably one of the first people you would get.
Well, let's use an example of a tender I received 2 weeks ago where they'd already chosen the venue, but there's no way we can deliver what they want from the venue because it doesn't have good enough internet. So, that's one of those things which is, it's really, really important to get that right in the first place. You're not going to know what your internet bandwidth requirement is unless you've run your program past your production partner, and they're going to be able to tell you. If you're running four parallel streams with inbound signals and outgoing signals too, that's a lot of bandwidth, together with the regular wireless of the venue, plus any other business of the venue too. And actually, what interesting is my final point, which was about supply requirements and sourcing, is that what the planners need from venues are guaranteed bandwidth, ring-fence bandwidth within that, both in and out, and strong external connections, and also room-to-room wired connections. I've seen a lot of venues investing in equipment in order to deliver virtual and deliver hybrid. For smaller venues, it isn't worth it because the production teams will want to bring in their own kit, which they know is tried and tested. I think the larger convention centres and things like that probably need to make that investment. But if you're a small venue, I just wouldn't bother to spend the money on really good connectivity. Because that's what we're going to need.
Just had a comment from Dave Garrett who says, I agree, even if it's not virtual, the production team is a key factor to the framework of the event, and it can save you or your client money in the long run by addressing unexpected costs. But I'd go one step further. I think they need to be involved with right from the beginning about the design of the meeting, because they may be able to come to you and say, by the way, how about doing this? You want to engage people that way or run this poll that way. Well, we can do this and do that. And I think you need to don't let the tail wag the dog, get them involved straight away at the beginning. That's what I would say anyway, nowadays.
And it's about when you're around that table in the first instance, whether it's in person or a virtual table, having the right people there who can advise you as a meeting design expert or anyone who's helping a client plan an agenda. If we're talking about hybrid, I would be bringing in my production partner at that first meeting to talk about it, because otherwise the risk of failure is high.
Yeah. Rob, I know we've got about 5 minutes left. I know you were just talking about supplier requirements and sourcing and things like that. Anything else to add on that subject?
We talked about venues, production. I think platforms. There's still lots of new platforms coming out. I think we're seeing an element of consolidation in the industry now. Lots of them buying each other now. I'm noticing. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think just when it comes to platforms, test, get as much access as you can before making that decision. Look at the back end as well as the front end. Tech platforms are very good at showing you the glittery front end, but you have to run that event using their tech. So you need to understand how it's going to work in the back end, how you build it, and test, rehearse.
Absolutely, and I can't, just to reiterate, I can't get over to you all, how important it is to have a good production team, a good producer who knows this industry. This is a good plug for you, Rob, this.
Thanks.
Like Rob and his team. No. But do you know what I mean, though? I think it's so important nowadays, and I think the goalposts have changed slightly, well, massively, you know, this was like I say this all the time. It was like the elephant in the room, online stuff and going online. But now we're going to be faced with having to do both real and in person. So I think there's definitely going to be more. We're going to do more discussions on this as we go, guys, because it's going to evolve in front of our eyes, just like the online events. I mean, do you agree, Rob? It's just evolving massively.
And I think we're seeing a change. We're finally seeing a significant change to events with purpose. And events as a force for change and force for good, rather than the events which are perfect, because there's no such thing as a perfect event, despite many venue marketers saying otherwise in their material. There's no such thing as a perfect event, and there's no such thing as a perfect venue or perfect supplier. It's about bringing people together to get the best fit possible.
Yeah, you obviously haven't been to any of the events I've organised, Rob. So pity on you. Sorry,
I should have said, apart from you, yes, obviously.
Thank you.
That goes without saying, Neil. Come on.
No, my imperfections make it perfect, Rob. That's what it's all about. I always say that. Karen, just to sum up, finally, before we go, guys, Karen Innes just said, it's all about having the right people involved from the very beginning, know the event expectations, the requirements, and what's the main achievement, and what are you looking to achieve, which is often overlooked, which should be the first thing you think about. Rob, I would like to say thank you so much for being a brilliant guest. You've been fantastic. Yeah, I'm contractually obliged to say that, but thank you anyway. Sorry, Rob. No, he's been fantastic. Rob, thank you so much. Guys, I'm just going to wrap up with a few things. We'd now like to bring you our weekly lowdown with Mash Media with the fantastic Marty Fullard. Hi, Marty, if you're watching. Check this out, guys. A little burst of positivity for you.
Hello and welcome to the Delegate Wranglers Weekly Lowdown with Mash Media. I'm Martin Fullard. Now, it's been a big week if you're into your government guidance, and the government have come out with probably some of the most comprehensive guidance yet. The Department for Culture, Media and Sport updated its guidance this week for both organisers and local authorities, and there is a real packet of information available on Conference News and the government website. Please make the effort to read it. It's really important. I'm just going to skim over a couple of top-line things that you might find interesting. Some public events are going to be allowed from the 12th of April, so that's much earlier than we thought. Those events will include things like village fetes, agricultural shows, gardening shows, fun fairs and food and drink festivals. So that's a really encouraging sign. From the 17th of May, we move to the next step, and business events such as conferences, exhibitions and trade shows, charity auctions, and crucially and interestingly, private dining events such as charity or gala dinners and award ceremonies are going to be allowed to happen. For a long time, there was a great deal of uncertainty about those sort of gala dinner events and award ceremonies. Would they be allowed to happen? Wouldn't they? They will, but of course they have to follow the guidance. There really is so much information out there. Please make the effort to read it. Now, on a more cellular level, there is interesting news from the world of fintech. Organisers of Fintech Week London have confirmed that their 2021 event is going to go ahead in July at a London venue called Rise, which I believe is actually owned by Barclays. Now, the 5-day event will see 2,000 delegates descend on the capital to discuss all things finance and banking, and the centrepiece will be a 1,500-person hybrid conference. So it just goes to show that there is confidence in the sector yet. That is your weekly lowdown.
Thank you, Marty. Another great bit of content positivity about the industry. These are coming to you every week, guys. We'll be showing these on the Delegate Wranglers on the Facebook group and also in this show. Although this is a penultimate one of this season, we will be back though, so don't worry. I'd just like to just quickly go into what's coming up next week and what we've got. So as you can see on the 15th, which is in 2 days' time, we've got an onboarding webinar with Diane. So Diane will be running through anybody who's just joined the Delegate Wranglers and wants to know, get up to speed with it straight away, what the supplier hour is and everything like that. Look out for links on the group, guys. We've just posted that up recently. Then next week, to close out the season, we've got a fantastic goal-setting masterclass with Faye Sharp. So that should be really, really exciting. We've had a lot of interest in that already, and I've seen some of the content, and it's going to be fantastic. So don't miss that, guys. It's going to be really, really informative, and Faye's a great guest to have on. And then the following week, if we can just go to the next slide, Callum, if that's okay, we've got a Grow Your Business webinar, which is going to be hosted by me. On Zoom. So that's telling you all about growing your business with the DW Superstars. We've had tons and tons of interest and people signing up to the Superstars plan. It's how you can grow your business and your reputation, and many, many other benefits, guys. You've probably seen the Superstar Hour, which is just one of the things that you can benefit from joining, which is like the Supplier Hour, but it's just for you guys. So you get an extra 52 adverts a year. So try and tune into that, guys. I will put the link. The link is on the group, but I'll try and put it in this chat as well, just so you've got it. So without any further ado, I would like to say thank you to all the team and everybody involved in this production, to Rob for being a fantastic guest. I'd like to thank Callum on production duties, Dom and Ed also in the stream team, doing a great job, Events Case for the registration, and especially to our season sponsors, Events, for all their support and, the fantastic informative videos that they've been doing. So they've got one more next week. So I hope you guys can check them out and support that. So without any further ado, I would like to say thank you for watching. We really appreciate your support, and we will catch you next week for the very last show of the season. Take care, guys. See you soon.